And then we went back 2013. And then that was when Brotherhood also went
Wow, really?
to HHI. Yeah. And then that's when they came first at varsity. So same year.
Crazy.
2 big wins.
Yeah. And then you got the girl.
That's the
Bigger win.
Bigger win. Absolutely.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Studio North podcast. Okay, today's episode is a fun one because me and Scott just celebrated our 6th wedding anniversary in August. So we thought it would be fun. I thought it would be fun to maybe just go through some of our history, how dance brought us together. And yeah.
It did. It did indeed. You've been fighting for this podcast episode for ever since we started.
I just think it would be cute.
I agree. I concur. So how did it start?
How did it start? Okay, so
we don't know.
Yeah. We're both not sure. But first lesson learned.
Yes.
Be friends first. Because that's what we remember. Yeah. But we just don't remember exactly how we met.
Well, I have my story in my head, which was that the first time I met you was when we were teaching at Praise Team together. And the cute story, it was my first time teaching and at a studio. And then I find out that I'm paired up with this other teacher to teach this class together. And then I show up on the first day and I'm just like... just drop dead gorgeous woman in front of me. And then we worked together for the whole year, but we were just friends during that period of time.
Yes.
And then eventually later it developed. But that's my memory, which as everyone knows is like a goldfish. I have zero memory.
Yeah, it's okay.
But what do you think was the first time?
We were on another team together for like a year before that.
Like you say that, and I agree, but I don't remember.
Yeah, because we were just on the other side of the room. Yeah, maybe that's why.
Yeah,
and then Praise Team is how we became closer as friends and as something more.
Yeah. Okay. I can see how you interpret the series of events as that, but. Yeah, we'll go with your...
Thank you for validating my memory. That is correct.
We'll go with your story. Okay.
Okay. Well, so after that, we taught together, which was super cute. Some of those dancers actually came to be on Brotherhood and Style and Grace, and some of them are actually married too. So yeah, we have a lot of dance friend couples, which is really special. It brings people together.
Totally.
Okay, so after... our teaching together, then we actually joined Senior Showcase, Praise Team's elite group at the time, and we had the honor of going down to compete at HHI. So if you've been to HHI in the Vegas days, we were doing mega crew, so a lot of people, a lot of rehearsals. We saw each other every day in the summer. Scott would ask me out for bubble tea, sushi, if I wanted to hang out, and I was like, does he like me? I'm confused. Kind of like you, I guess. So that was fun.
Yeah. I remember, that was the first year HHI had Mega Crew too as well, right?
Okay, yeah. So there was the very first year. We were still friends that one.
Okay.
And then it was, I think we went back on the 3rd year.
Of Mega Crew?
Yes.
Okay, because when we went, first year we were just friends on was that Silly Love Songs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That was 2011.
Yes.
Crazy. And then we went back 2013, and then that was when Brotherhood also went to HHI.
Really?
Yeah, and then that's when they came first at varsity. So same year.
Crazy.
2 big wins.
Yeah, and then you got the girl.
That's the bigger win. Bigger win, absolutely. Yeah, Vegas was fun. Senior frogs. That's it. That's it. We're not going. Senior frogs.
Yes, but yes. HHI is special to us.
Yeah.
Because those were just great times.
And the prep, like you mentioned, I think the prepping for comp in, the OLGC school gym with the blue floors, that was kind of just like a memory that's always going to forever be there. And just every day at like 4 p.m. after everyone got off school or work, we'd just go and practice and hang out, and then people would just make fun of us for hanging out together all the time on the stage. Remember that? I remember people poking fun at us because we were just always talking to each other and nobody else.
Cute. And then, yeah, so that was like a summer love.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah, fun times. That was 10 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy.
10 years.
So then after that, you had to move away for school
Mm-hmm.
to Ottawa.
Yeah, I had...
He was working for the Prime Minister's office.
No
big deal.
That just sounds like a weird flex. But I had an internship at the Prime Minister's office in Ottawa for 6 months, so I went and did that.
Mm-hmm. And before that, he broke up with me.
Okay, I don't know if that's really what... we need to go through these series of events. But
Okay.
yes, I think I was leaving, and at the time, I think I was... This is something that I think we've both learned and that we both believe, but like when you're dating, you want to be dating to marry. I think that's something that I've always from day one. So there's like pros and cons with that, because the pros are, obviously there's intention in what you're doing and you're not just going around for flings with everybody and being a big player. But the cons is like sometimes you can take things very like seriously or very like black and white, or like just very everything needs to be figured out now and not later. So I think at the time, there was just things in my life that I really cared about and that I really valued. And at the time, I just didn't know if we were on the same page where we both felt the same way about those things. And so I think I communicated to you before I went. I think I communicated, hey, I think we should take some time apart and like just work through some things or like give some space. You apparently don't think I said that because you got mad at me for releasing the video, the iconic concept video.
Okay. And capitalized on the breakup. That's
okay.
what I say.
Not capitalized. But kind of, but no, just capitalize on the opportunity of being so emotional and alone in another city with no one else. So I moved to Ottawa, and then I swear we had this conversation.
We had a conversation,
yes.
But I don't think it was like, it's over.
Okay. What did you think it was?
I thought you were like, okay, let's figure things out, but we're still...
While I move away for 6 months?
Well, yeah. We could still talk. Or like I just thought when you came back, it's just...
Back to normal.
No.
Oh.
Like it's over.
Oh, okay. So it was communicated that I think we needed to like take a break and take a step back, because then I was super emotional as a 19-year-old. Mm-hmm. I don't know how old I was. And then that's when I filmed Doing It Wrong. Drake, cue video.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I would have made some like different like choreography choices, but I think the setting was dope. Like Charles, so one of our good friends, Charles De Jesus, luckybooth.ca. Hey, checking him out. He was just so happened to be in Ottawa at the same time, and then for our internship, we stayed at the Laurentian Leadership Center, which is this gorgeous, beautiful building, and we actually got to stay there while during our internships. And then, stars just aligned, and he was like, let's do a video. And I'm like, yo, I got this. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it right now. I was like super sad and emotional. And so he came over, and then we just filmed this like very emotional concept video.
And if you read the caption,
don't read
the
I think I'm going to, after
for
this,
her,
I'm going to change all that.
Something like that.
It's weird. You know what's funny is like looking back on that type of stuff and just being like, that's a whole different human. Like I was so different back then. And yeah, it's cringe. But it also is part of me, and it was like part of my journey and part of who I am. So I can't delete it, but I want to really delete it. So don't go and read it because it's embarrassing. But it was just very, I think those were the times where I really used dance. I think we both, I can say for both of us, we both used dance as a form of like raw expression. I express now when I dance, but like not as raw as like then,
Yes.
in a sense. Like, I was really wearing my heart on my sleeve. Whereas, like, now I'm like, I keep some things a little, like, guarded. I don't want to tell the world about everything. Right. Whereas, like, back then I was like, this is how I feel. I was just crying.
And dance or concept videos at the time were, like, really big. And I feel like you were really in it. So you wanted to switch it up. Anyways, I put out my own video in
As a response. Clap back.
Also cringe acting. Oh gosh. Dancing was great, I think. Yeah. But acting, please don't judge me. I'm not an actor.
Not the crumpled letter and throw it away.
But that had some truth. He wrote me a letter.
I did.
I forget if that was before.
You probably still have it. You keep everything.
I do have it.
No.
I do
throw
have
that
it.
Out. Don't bring it on the podcast next episode and read it, please.
I'm trying to think of some lines.
No, we're not going to think about lines.
It was sweet, but sad.
Yeah.
It was a breakup letter.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, like if I really take myself back there, just start crying again. I think it was really hard. I think that was probably the hardest part in our relationship. Yeah. I think ever. Like as far as like internal factors. Like dealing with just like the internal like dialogue of, like what are you looking for in a potential partner, and what does that look like? What does your future life look like? And I think having those thoughts and those doubts, and they're not doubt. It wasn't really doubts. It was just questions. I think that we didn't really know each other. If you think back then, like. Even when we got married,
I know,
like barely didn't, like it feels like I didn't know you. Obviously we loved each other, we knew each other, but now 6 years in, it's like, I know you better than I probably know myself. Like, and likewise. So it's just weird to think back then we're so young and like we were asking all these deep, like questions of life and future and family. And now looking back, I feel like, I wouldn't change anything because look at us now. But if I were to talk to maybe younger Scott back then, I might say like, hey, take some time. You'll figure it out as you go. You don't have to have all the answers before you officially start dating. Like it's okay. Like you'll figure it out together. But I don't take it back because look at us now.
And I did not at the time. I was confused. I was like, we're not getting married. Like, like we're just dating. Or that was my mindset. But I do respect that you, like, had self-control and like values, at such a young age. I guess looking back, like you're really mature in that way.
Heyo, bazinga.
I love you a lot.
No, yeah. I love you more. But yeah, 100%. I was definitely not as mature back then as I feel like I am now. I was a boy.
It's okay. We were both young.
But that should just show you that concept videos work. Breakup concept videos work. Look at us now. We're madly in love, 6 years in marriage. They work. So anyone out there who's thinking of making a concept video, that's also crazy to think about concept videos. Like now in 2023, I can't tell you the last time I saw one, right? And yet back then in 2011, 12, 13, this would have been 13 or 14. Yeah. So 10 years ago, there was no real kind of class footage. There was no, like right now we're just inundated with content online with dance and choreography, which is great. But like back then, there wasn't really that. It was concept videos. So you would spend thousands of dollars. You'd spend weeks planning, filming, trying to learn how to act. And it was like this moment where you released it on YouTube and then like everyone tuned in and like the views went through the roof because that was the platform everybody was on at the time was concept videos. And so it was interesting to look back now. Like it'd be cool. Maybe bring a concept video back. Maybe bring Doing It Wrong Part 2.
Sorry, I just laughed because we don't dance together.
Yeah, that's another podcast we can get into why we don't dance together. I don't want to get into it.
Okay. Anyways.
Yeah.
You came back.
And
then.
Oh man, but I'm sorry, but just before that, I was just thinking back when you launched yours or when you released yours, and I got like messages from the boys being like, "Bro, she responded," and I'm like, "Yeah," just losing it. I was so heartbroken. I was like, "What have I done?" So yeah, I just remember that was just funny. Take myself back there.
Oh, and sorry, what was my piece? Was To Beg Lady, Erykah Badu, classic.
Yeah, it was great, great choreography.
Thanks.
After that, what happened?
After that, we got it together and we figured it out.
Yeah,
and then officially started dating.
Yeah,
and it's been great since.
And everything's been smooth sailing since then. But yeah, I guess I came back and then I asked you to be my girlfriend. I remember that. But then, and again, this kind of goes back to the whole, like, I was so serious because as soon as I asked you to be my girlfriend, I only asked you if I knew I wanted to marry you. Whoa. So I was like, because I just don't want to, to me, looking back, again, very serious Scotty. But like now, like, I would just tell myself, like, ease up. But I was very much like, I'm not going to ask, because I was very intentional with that. And I feel like we were throughout our relationship. It was like, the goal is marriage. And I think that's something that can sometimes get lost. And again, we understand like marriage isn't for everybody, but for us, if that is, the goal, if that's what you want and that's what you are looking forward to, you create a plan and don't just kind of wing it. And so I think we were very intentional with, when we dated, how we dated, and then, got engaged in 2015, married in 2017. And then celebrated 6 years. So what do you think would be like looking back on that, what would you say to like this upcoming generation that's going through that and they're 15, they're 16, everyone's together, everyone's in relationships, or that's like the goal. Should they be in a rush?
Yeah, I think that's literally what I was gonna say is don't rush into relationships. I think growing up for me as a young girl, there's rom-coms, society queen. Saying like you need a boyfriend, you need a partner, you need that in like your teenage years. And looking back, I'm like, I wish I kind of had more time to like just enjoy what I wanted to do, or instead of like looking for something externally all the time. I wish I was just learning to like love myself and figure out what I'm passionate about and what I wanted to do. Because now that we are in a relationship and I know what a healthy relationship looks like, we still take the time to like fill ourselves on our own. Like we don't look to each other like, hey, fill my cup, satisfy every need, make me happy, So I wish I figured that out growing up sooner, if that makes sense. But not that I have any regrets. Because I am who I am. And I learned from all of those things. But yeah, especially when you're like 16 to 18, even 20, I feel like you're still figuring yourself out. And you have so much time to do you. And then you have so much life to live with someone else. Like, just learn to love yourself first.
Boom, mic drop.
And might sound like cheesy, but
no,
I think it's true. Like you weren't in a relationship until I was your first, but
I was never in a relationship.
And I think you're a great example of someone who was like, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna start my own crew. I'm gonna make all these videos. I'm gonna pursue all these things. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have someone else to worry about, if that makes sense, or distract you. Not that I would have, or
you would have for sure distracted me back.
When because we're I just want to spend all our time together. But yeah.
No, I 1,000% agree. I feel like there's that expectation that you're 14, 15, 16, you should be in a relationship, and I'm just like, absolutely not. Like our kid's not dating until they're married or like 25.
Turning into our parents.
But if you you've heard that study where your frontal cortex isn't even fully formed until you're 21 or 23, and yet you're going to be making like some crazy life decisions when at the age of 15 that this is going to be your one and true love. That being said, there are high school sweethearts out there. We've met them and they're like 40 years old now and they've been married for 30 years. And it's great. That is like the 1%. Almost every other couple that was like 15 or 16 is not together anymore.
Because you're just different people.
1,000%. I'm a different person I was 3 years ago, let alone like 15. So I would just say as well, there's no rush. Just like take your time and don't let other friends or society or culture pressure you into thinking you need to do this. You should have experienced this by now.
Yes.
No, chill. You have so much more time. Like you said, learn to love yourself, learn to invest into yourself, spend time with your friends, your family, like building a core community that you can like continue to do life with. And I think that's something that I admire about you is you still have friends from when you were in, elementary school, high school, and they're still some of your closest friends. And I think that's very cool. And having that sense of community from a really young age, I would say focus on that and like focus on thinking about, what are you interested in? What are you intrigued by? Spend time there rather than, trying to be on the lookout. And then also don't settle. I think that's one, like don't just because you're like, well, it's time's ticking. I guess this is more kind of later, but like, I just wouldn't, or
even in the moment too, like if someone likes you, right, it's like, it can be exciting, but if you take a step back, it's like, okay, what do I like about them? Or why do they like me?
Yeah.
Like, do you just like the feeling of being liked? Because it's a nice feeling,
totally,
but it's not going to sustain you or like have any substance if, like, why do you like each other?
Like, do you love them or do you love being in love? I'll quote that. That's more so to like the younger crowd. What about to, people that are looking to get into a relationship or are currently in a relationship? I would say we have a very healthy relationship from what we've discussed. What makes a relationship strong? Or like looking at our relationship, what do you think could be advice or what's gone well in our relationship that we feel like maybe it didn't happen organically, we had to work on? But what makes like a good relationship?
I think building a strong foundation in terms of like just being on the same page, having the same outlook on life, worldview. I think that's the most important thing for sure, because that's the basis of your decisions for your future family and like you as a couple. So for us, like we knew we wanted to get married. We knew that our faith was going to be the foundation of our relationship. And I think that's what's really made us super strong.
100%. And those are like the roots, I feel like everything comes out of that. So and also when you're at your darkest time or when you're at like your lowest point, that's what you fall back to. And if you can both agree on that, which is, whatever that foundation is for other people, for us, it's our faith. Knowing that like when it gets to the worst of the worst, at least we know these are true. And if you have that, then I think you can get through anything together. But when you don't have that and you disagree potentially, then that's when I think cracks start to form, and then things can go really south. Because like we can get super mad at each other. We could be on complete opposite ends of opinions. Like I could have done something horrible, like I could have offended, I could have done anything. But at the end of the day, or you could have done something as well. It's not just me. But at the end of the day, we know it doesn't matter how angry we are with each other. We still agree on this. So we can still, come back at the end of a long day. Not that this has really ever happened to us, but if it were to happen, I'm like trying to make it sound like we've been in these big fights. We've like never been in any fights. But at the end of the day, let's say we had this huge disagreement and then like we weren't talking to each other. At the end of the day, we know coming back at the end of the night, like we're together forever. There's no way out. And I think that's something that helped us in our marriages. There is no option. It's either death or we're together forever. Like that's it. Like there's no way out. And when you have that, foundation, I think you can work through, learn to work through anything.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, whatever that foundation is, then I think it can get really tricky and it can definitely get hard.
Yeah. Especially like when you're both not at like your best, which will happen. Like it can be something small, like you're hangry or you had a hard day.
Yeah.
And like when there's like emotions involved and you're not thinking of each other, you're thinking of yourself. Like I think, that's when things can go south a little. Or disagreements happen because you're not being considerate.
100%. And you're not even being yourself. And that's the other, to the point of having the same foundation. Sometimes like you can even forget what your foundation is, like, or you're just not thinking about that. And so you have a partner that reminds you, hey, remember this, this. So when you're at your lowest point and you don't even know who you are, you don't know what life is, you don't know what you believe at times, but you have a partner that's like, hey, remember, like, you know, you're loved. I'm here forever. We're going to get through this. Like, you have that foundation. It kind of brings you back. But if you're not on that same page and you're just going down a whirlwind and you don't have that other person to bring you back to what you believe in your heart, you know, this is your foundation, but just in the moment, you're tired, you're angry, those are really the two main things for me. You're exhausted and you're not even thinking, like, you don't remember, like, oh, right, you know, this is my core belief. Like, you're just in the moment, you're just like, I'm so tired, I just want to give up. But you have somebody that says, no, remember, this is what you told me a long time ago. You said, you know, you're doing this for a reason, or there's a reason you're called to do this. It's like, oh, right. Yes, you're right. I am. Okay. Thank you for that. And having that partner, I think, in life, and I think for us in business too, that's been huge. Like, we've been through the ringer since we opened, just with everything being thrown at us, with COVID, the lockdowns, opening another studio, people not being happy that we're opening studios, like, but the fact that we had each other's back the entire time, I don't know if either one of us could have made it through if it wasn't for each other.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if we brought this up in any other episodes, but like, even when we were starting to like think or dream of Studio North, there was never a question of like if we weren't going to do it together. Yeah. Which is crazy. Like, it was just an automatic, like, we should open a studio. Yeah. So I think because, we had a strong marriage or foundation for marriage, because we were still pretty new. It was like only 2 years of marriage, I think, that we opened. Yeah. So I think we just knew, like, we're partners forever in whatever we do. Yeah. So I think that's been really special.
Heck yeah. And I think the friendship component is big as well. And I think that's something that sometimes people might not think of in marriage, or like, that's just not what like culture depicts, or like TVs and movies. It's always like, you know, they portray the man who's, you know, inconsiderate and lazy, and then they portray the wife as like the ball and chain who's like nagging. And it's like, yo, that's not the picture of marriage.
Yeah,
like, the picture
marriage is so fun.
Yo, it's the best.
You get to have sleepovers with your best friend.
Exactly. And I think that's something that kind of just doesn't get talked about enough. Like, I think the best, or the most integral part of a successful marriage is the foundation of that friendship. If you don't enjoy hanging out together, and you don't, like, if you get really annoyed by them or ticked off at them, it's not a great sign, you know? Or like, you don't have to be the same. I think that's great too. I think you can complement each other. Like, one might be super loud, one might be super quiet. Guess who? Or like, one might enjoy this, one might enjoy that. And so it's not that you have to be the same, but you got to be like, just like,
enjoy spending time together.
100%. I think that's a big component that sometimes doesn't get talked about enough with marriage, is like, you are best friends, and that comes first, and they come first. And it's not this, like, you live like kind of two lives, like one at work and then one at home. It's just like, that doesn't, you're splitting, and that's not smart. Yeah. Like, you should just be the same all the time.
And I think it's very unique and fun that we also get to work together.
Yes.
And that we enjoy working together.
Yes. That being said, I feel like we've had to work on how we work together. So like, one thing we know is like, we both don't work on the exact same thing, or sometimes we do, but like, our roles in the company, we work on different things, so that, you know, it's not like we're doing the exact same thing at the same time, because then that can just cause us in the past to disagree. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to work on this, you're going to work on that. And so it's not right. It wasn't right out the gate, I don't think, but we found a way now, because I know, talking to a lot of couples, they're just like, how do you guys, we work together, we sleep together, we live together, we travel together, we do everything together, and yet we don't get on each other's nerves. And I wouldn't have it any other way. That being said, I think a reason for that is because, like you said, we're not dependent on each other to fulfill each other. Like, my life's purpose, or how I find meaning, isn't in you providing that for me. It's not like I'm waking up every morning and looking to you and saying, give me purpose. Because that's heavy. That's a heavy weight to put on anyone's shoulders. I think we've both been able to say, this is like both of our purposes, but this is also my personal purpose. And having those friend groups, I think that's another big one that sometimes gets overlooked, is it's healthy. I think it's healthy for you to have your friends, and for you to go out and hang out with them and get your girl time and relax and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And then I've got my boys, and we go and hang out and talk about stuff. And I think that's a healthy component too, because it doesn't, because we work together so much and we're together so often, having that friend group that you're able, and it's not the friend group in the type of like, oh, let's complain about our wives. It's like, no, it's just like, I want to connect with other friends that I care about and that I want to see them succeed in life and just do life together. And there's stuff that we might talk about that, might not necessarily fully understand what, is going through my head, that they're like, yeah, well, we're struggling with the exact same thing. How do we kind of get through that together? So I think it's healthy. Okay. Take us through a couple other,
we'll call them green flags, because I feel like everyone loves to talk about red flags.
Yeah. What are some green flags for a relationship?
Trust. You can trust the person. You never feel insecure in your relationship. You don't ever want to feel insecure in your relationship. If you do, have an open conversation with your partner, but that also might just be a sign like maybe this isn't the right person for me, and you deserve better. You deserve to feel secure in your relationship. Trust is big.
Yeah. Also, knowing what knowing what your partner needs might be different than what you need. So like if you're, for us, I feel like we have a really healthy relationship, and other couples, there might be situations where, whether it's past trauma that's kind of coming up and it's rearing its head. And so that's forcing one of them to not trust the other. I think working through that with somebody, I think would really help, because if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. So, like when I'm out or when I'm working or doing stuff, I'm never getting a message from you being like, hey, where are you? You need, like, be here. Like I'm freaking out, because you trust. And likewise, I'm just like, I don't know where Carmen is. She's probably doing something. She's dancing or, but there's that trust that, we love each other and we'll be there for each other forever. And like, those thoughts of like, oh, that's not even in the equation for us. But if there is, past, and like you've had in the past, you've had stuff happen to you, brutal stuff that's happened to you. And yet that's what's crazy. That's what I think is like so amazing about you, is you're not jaded in the least. Like, you are the most gracious, loving, and like trusting person I know that I've ever met. So despite whatever's happened in the past, and I think that's just goes to show how amazing you are, and like the healing and the growth and the, you've just like grown so much from like however many years ago to now where you are as a amazing woman.
Oh, thanks, honey.
But if anyone else that happened to anyone, they would be the most jaded, and yet you're not. So sidetrack. But I think that trust is a huge component, and if it's not there, just work through it. Like, go see people, go see counseling, go see a therapist, and couples therapy is great. We've done that before. Premarital counseling, we did that as well. That really helped. That would probably be my number one tip is before getting into any sort of long-term commitment, going to a therapy session or counseling, premarital counseling, and then they just talk. And it's normally like, we did it through our church, and they just pair you up with another older couple that's like, been married for a long time, have a healthy relationship, and they just kind of take you through, all right, let's just like talk about what this is going to look like in 30 or 40 years. And, my parents even were marriage counselors for like years. And you just like sit down and you just talk through about, okay, what do you think about kids? What do you think about faith? What do you think about work? How do you see all these aspects of a relationship? And if you can't really agree, or not that you can't agree, but if you don't come to a common understanding about those, then it's not a red flag. It's just like maybe pause and then figure that out and then come back to the discussion about getting married. Yeah.
I think another big one that I learned through premarital was like expectations and communicating them, commuting expectations. Communicating your expectations and then compromising. Like, if they were different, I can't really think of an example off the top of my head, but like, I don't know, you come into marriage, you think, we're going to have dinner every night, we're going to hang out all the time, it's going to look a certain way, right. And just being a little realistic with like what the day-to-day would look like. I think that helped me.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Even if you are married, it's never too late just to go and see someone. And honestly, it's just a referee. That's really what it is. If you go to couples counseling, it's not somebody like picking sides. They're just like working through stuff with you. Couples therapy on
Couples
Netflix.
Therapy, another fun show to watch. Or it's on HBO.
Is it?
For Canadians.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or Crave, sorry.
We enjoy watching that.
That's a fun show.
Okay, trust.
What's another pillar?
That's one pillar. Humor. I think humor is a big one. Not that like you have to have the same humor. But like maybe your views on humor. You know, like I don't know. I honestly, all I know is I think you're hilarious, and like we make the same jokes. And I'm just so happy. Like, I'm just so happy all the time because we have the same humor and we like have the same inside jokes. And I think that's a huge component. That being said, maybe that's because we like humor. I was just trying to like think, I'm like, is there going to be people out there that don't like humor, that people are just like so serious all the time? Maybe. And then maybe you should find someone that's in the same boat where it's very serious and you don't joke around. But if you're like married to one of us, like just the biggest like jokesters, and then you're super serious, I don't know. Maybe it works. I have no idea. All I know is that it really works for us because we're both hilarious. Or we just think we're both funny. And I don't know if we've talked about this, but like the longer you get married, the more like you just start to become like each other.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like I'm becoming more like you, you're becoming more like me. And then our jokes are also like I'm starting to make like Filipino jokes that I like actually don't understand. But I'm like, but you say it all the time, so it's funny. And then we just have fun together. So I think humor plays a big part in our relationship.
Yeah. Or it just keeps things light and fun.
Especially when you're going through hard times, which everyone's gonna get hit with hard times. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would say humor. Humor is an important one. Back to you. What's a third pillar?
Communication.
Oh, our favorite.
But I would say I had a harder time with communicating in the beginning. I think for me it was always hard to express what I needed in a moment. If I was feeling a certain way, if I was moody, I think I gave the silent treatment a couple times, and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm speaking honestly for me. I think you're great with communicating. But just knowing that like your partner can't read your mind. Like you have to tell them what you need, what you're feeling. Even if you're like, I just need a second to compose myself, that's okay too. Just tell them. It'll help.
I think for me with communication, it's learning how to communicate to somebody in a way that they're going to receive it best. So the way that I would like to be spoken to might not be the best way that if I say things, you're going to take them differently. And so that's been something I've had to work on, and it takes effort and it takes energy, but in the long run, I think it's better rather than just, most people know, I'm just a very blunt like person, or like I'm very not forward. How would you describe it? To the point?
Yeah.
For the most part. Like if I were to communicate in the way I would want to be, I would just want somebody to tell me like, hey, you shouldn't do that. Or like, don't do that. So I would immediately think, yeah, that's just how I want to communicate to people. It's like, just be upfront, like no small talk. Let's just talk about what we need to talk about. But in doing that, you're also potentially like closing off someone who's going to want to, or who's able to hear what you have to say. And so instead it would be better to learn a bit about them and know this is how they receive communication, or this is how they listen best, and then do your best at communicating to them in that way rather than just coming at it from a point of this is how I would want to be communicating. Because then I think that's something that I've had to learn, not just with our relationship, but just in general with everybody, like communicating to people in a way that they will receive it best, and also timing, like when is the best time to communicate. Like for me, it's I want to nip things in the bud.
Yeah, and not shying away from having hard conversations or, I
was talking about timing.
Timing.
I was just talking about how, in general, I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like a good rule of thumb is the sooner the better. Unless someone says, I need a second. I can't talk about this. Can we schedule a time at 5 to talk about this? But in general, rather than letting things fester and emotions and then conversations in your head, like that's something that we both don't like.
Yeah.
Is if, someone's text and says, hey, we need to talk.
Yeah.
It's
just
like
instant anxiety.
well, because, and you know what, I think it's PTSD from all the
Yes.
stuff that we've gone through from the beginning, like getting these messages and they're really like crappy things. And then all of those emotions come up. So now we just tell everybody, if you have something to say to us, just call. Just literally call us, and then we can hear your tone, can hear what you have to say. But I think just a general rule of thumb of the sooner the better, in like 80% of the time, and then there might be 20% where it's like, hey, I think we need to take some time, sit on this, and then we can come to it. But from my experience, the more you wait, the more it festers, and then the more it just gets blown out of proportion. And then when you do finally talk about it with someone, they're just like, oh yeah, no problem. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just wasted like 5 days thinking about this conversation, and you took it super well.
Yeah.
So I would just say time is of the essence with communication.
Yep. I think we've given enough advice. Enough thoughts for now.
And we're like, 6 years in the grand scheme of things. We don't want it to come out from this point of view of like, we know everything.
No.
But we've been together for 10, married for 6, multiple businesses, feel like strong relationship, strong friends, strong community around us. So I feel like we can speak to it a little bit, but just not in the sense of that we know everything.
Yes, definitely.
Still
don't
got
know
a lot
everything.
to learn. But I think the point that you wanted to with this podcast, not just to go through our love story and concept videos, but was also just to look out for, I guess, people that are thinking these thoughts specifically in our kind of community, in the dance community, or just the next generation that's thinking about relationships. But by no means are we saying like we know everything.
For sure.
And that we're the source. It's just, hey, this is stuff that's worked for us, and
what we've learned. Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Try some stuff out. But I do feel like anyone you talk to, I feel like those pillars are, not that it's like non-negotiable, but like those are pretty strong points in any kind of textbook you read about relationships. But
okay, wrap them up again. So I would start from foundation.
Yes, having the same foundation of like outlook on life. Yeah.
Friendship.
Yeah, I'd say that was the
one.
Second biggest one. Yeah.
Trust. Humor. That's also friendship, I would say. Yeah. And then communication. Those are our 5 pillars.
As of today.
From the Forsyths.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're just very grateful that dance has brought us together, continues to bring us together, and grateful for our marriage.
Absolutely. And it's cool you're right, like we've talked about this before, dance is just the vessel we've been blessed to partake in, but at the end of the day, like it's just about bringing people together, whatever it is. And so it's cool that what brought us together and what brought our community together, and what brought, couples from Style and Grace and Brotherhood, like some of them are married now. Like that's crazy if you really think about that. Like we stop and think, like we started Cruise, we started from the bottom. We started Cruise for fun, just dancing, having fun, and years later, those experiences and relationships that were formed through, Brotherhood, Style and Grace, being at the studio, has now changed the trajectory of people's lives forever. That's crazy. And that's dance. And dance did a lot of that. Or at least it was the vessel. That's what, we were chosen to pursue. But at the end of the day, it's just, it's about bringing people together.
We didn't talk about our engagement or wedding, but if you would like to see some things, just check out Scott's YouTube channel, and then you can also watch the Doing It Wrong video.
I don't want to read the caption.
But yeah, it's all on YouTube there. Those are fun. But we just wanted to focus on the dance history part for today. The fun stuff when you were young. Thank you all for listening to today's episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, share our podcast if you liked it. That would mean a lot to us. And stay tuned for the next one.
You.
Bye.
Bye.